Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to the No Fatwas Given podcast, episode 13. I'm your host, Saad, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Fahad, Ahmed, and Suhaib. We have a full crew this time around. Last time it was just the two of us. But alhamdulillah, everyone's back and ready to go.
Just the two of us made the best podcast ever for us.
500 and what views?
It wasn't the pod. It was the thumbnail.
The thumbnail? Okay.
You guys know it.
Hey, the thumbnail was pretty damn
But
good.
people actually listened to it and actually responded.
If you look
I
at the
appreciate the
retention, if you look at the
responses.
retention, it's all in the first few seconds and then it drops as soon as you see your faces.
I was thinking we could actually have a segment if there's really any interesting comments on our previous videos where we address them.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Actually, let's do that first. There was one about socks, right?
Yeah, we can start with, look. So actually, the place we're recording this is kind of obviously indoors in a carpeted area. It's like a guest room. We don't wear shoes in here. Hence the sock game. That's one reason why. There's a few large comments on what we talked about last time. I'm not sure
let
if
me pull them
anything
up. Let me pull them
you
up.
guys want to address.
We can pull them up. We can just read them. Why not?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, you have 7 comments now, by the
Can you do
way.
that in the end of the podcast?
No, read it now. We got to address the last podcast before
All
we
right,
start the new one.
I'll just read the comments one by one and we can just talk about it. Why not? Let's just get the user engagement because we have such few people listening.
Yeah.
Okay, one guy,
Okay, 500 people.
Amon Ra says, I'm not a Muslim and have recently read the Quran recently as my wife is a Muslim. The Quran is scary. How can someone read this stuff and not be scared? Here are some Quran references. The believers, Al-Mu'minun 23, 1 through 6, ways of... Okay, he's just quoting. So, Al-Nisa, I think that's the Confederates and sex with slaves, even if they are married, sex with slaves for Muhammad.
Yeah, you sometimes don't want to read all the comments.
Okay, you know what? The only thing I'll do is... it's very simple.
But we can address some of these things. I'm happy to do it.
Just listen to the Muslim Lantern. And if you want something even better, actually the Muslim Lantern is fantastic.
Actually, for these topics, everything you just mentioned, the Muslim Lantern has a plethora of videos on this stuff. He is fantastic in the sense that he's concise, he's to the point, he's often discussing these items, not alone. It's not like he just, has a podcast, has a camera running, and he's preaching to the world. Rather, he's having a discussion with someone, often people who are Christian or interested, or even people who are antagonistic, right? Wonderful gentleman, absolutely worth listening to. Any questions about Islam, it doesn't make sense to you, why is your wife still following this so-called barbaric religion, sex with slaves, or whatever it is you're reading about, all these questions are answered
advice
in great detail.
to his wife, you should leave him. Don't know why you're married to a non-Muslim.
Okay, no relationships advice is given
But,
either.
I mean,
We don't give fatwas.
these are common
this is-
questions.
Nowhere
These are
near as
common
good, but we
questions.
also had a previous podcast where we went in depth on like slavery. So
We
if you're
did.
just worried about slavery, we've talked about that, but Muslim Lantern is way better.
Okay, the next one. What is another troll? What is the punishment for leaving Islam?
Okay, really quick. The punishment for leaving Islam is death.
In a Muslim state,
there's
done by a court of law.
But there's a lot of caveats here. It's not like, oh my God, some kid who's 14 years old, whose parents are Pakistani, Egyptian Americans, or whatever they are, now suddenly it's like, I think I'm atheist, I don't understand who God is. You don't put him to the death. That's not how this works. The idea is, it's a concept of treason, right? So if you're in a truly Islamic state, which really doesn't exist in the world today, but let's say there's some khilafat out there, purely Islamic state.
What makes an American American?
But I'm getting to that.
What makes an American American? Is it their ideology? No, because Americans have crazy ideology, right? What is it that makes an American American? We can get to that now as birthright stuff with Trump. But ultimately, whatever that is, at the very baseline is you are not treasonous against America.
Yeah.
As long as you're not treasonous against America, you have the freedom of speech, you have the freedom of thought, whatever it is.
And
Treason in every state in the world is punishable by death.
Including America.
Fact, there's a reason why Edward Snowden, who
Had to
committed
leave.
treason, basically, by the way, by releasing their classified information to the public, meaning their enemies as well, is considered to have committed treason. So if Edward Snowden came back, short of him getting some kind of, pardon, he's going to be put to death. Or in prison forever, one or the other.
Or like-
And the other
Same
thing
thing.
is the same way that treason works in America. It's very similar. You don't get punished for treason if you're just out there advocating for policies that are bad for America. You won't immediately. It's if you go out there and you say, I hate America, I hate the way America works, and I want everyone to die, and you actually do actions
You're
that are
actively
treasonous.
campaigning against America, being an American citizen.
And
you essentially have committed treason.
Yes, and it's the same way for this. Is if you were to leave Islam in your home and no one knows, nothing would happen. You could actually, your whole family could leave Islam, stop praying, stop going to the mosque, and no one would care. It's only if you went in public and started advocating against Islam and saying, I'm not a Muslim, in public, that's a crime which could be punished.
No, but even that, it has to be a state that is the fabric of the state is Islam.
The part of the social
Right,
contract
part of the social
of
where
of
the treason
nation.
is, if the state is an Islamic state, where the unifying thing is Islam.
The contract.
Yeah, the contract that unifies everyone, that creates the state is Islam. Now, when you commit treason, meaning i.e. leaving Islam, then that's treason, and that's where it's punishable by death. But it doesn't mean that some young man or woman in this country, or an older gentleman in this country, who suddenly loses faith, that's not a cause for, capital
That's
punishment.
why there's so many people who there's a lot of people who actually leave Islam in like Dubai. Saudi apparently it's like an online forum. Again, probably the community is not that big, but there's a huge forum of like these neo idol worshippers, right? They're like re-worshipping Uzza and all this stuff. It's kind of weird. And in Pakistan too, like people leave the religion perfectly okay because Pakistan is not formed on that contract that you become Muslim, you enter the Republic of Pakistan by being Muslim. The Ottoman Empire in these places, there was a status, like a kind of green card status, like you could become a full citizen if you accept Islam. You get certain privileges. But once you accept those privileges, now leaving those privileges in a public way and campaigning against those ideologies, okay, that's treason.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next comment.
Yeah, that's enough. But that's important because it comes up all the time.
Anyways, the problem with the claim of perfect evidence. Oh, this is interesting. So, the problem with the claim of perfect evidence is that in practice, the evidence is always completely subjective or unverifiable. Anyone that has debated Muslims knows that they often try this tactic, claiming truth while being incapable of providing the level of proof necessary to reach the status of undeniable. So many, such as Jordan, just outright refuse the line of thought because we know where it leads. And what it leads to is always, the Quran predicted this scientific knowledge we know today to be true, so the rest of the Quran must therefore be true, which is blatantly false. It doesn't take a genius to understand that a book can have truth and lies at the same time. Similar to the topic of Tommy. We in the West will listen to the truth he speaks and throw away the rest. We do not throw away the whole person based on a few mistakes. And we will not blindly follow an ideology just because it gets a few things right. To us, it's about sifting through the lies to find the truth wherever it may be. This is why we reject the claim of undeniable proof, because short of demanding your God appear before us and perform a miracle, that nothing else could reach the status of undeniable. No one can do that, so we're comfortable rejecting the premise out of hand. So to claim Jordan doesn't see the truth because he rejected the undeniable proof claims intellectually dishonest amongst Western thinkers. I have a lot to say, but you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, okay, really quick, in case you didn't watch the last podcast, this is in reference to Jordan Peterson when he was in a church setting with Muhammad Hijab. Muhammad Hijab said, if I bring you unequivocal proof of the truth of Islam, will you believe it? And he said no, right? And so we discussed that. That doesn't make any sense. The answer to that question is always yes, no matter who comes forward to you. And this man is saying that no, because this has been used by Muslims all the time. And again, this is another great place where Muslim Lantern comes in, right? He's done wonders on this, but he's like, what? How? Okay.
No. You don't have to go to Muslim Lantern for this.
The most important thing is, what is the standard for truth? If someone brought something to you, if I brought the Quran to you and said, okay, what do you need me to prove for this to be the truth? Right? Short of, like you said, short of some miracle from God, what do you need me to prove? So here's a book. What do you need to hear or to see in order to know this is the truth? And often the question is, they don't even know. The thing is, if you don't know what your metric for truth is, then stop denying that something is true or not.
But the commenter's argument is that just because something is true doesn't mean everything in it.
No. The commenter's argument is that there can never be an undeniable truth. And so that's why him rejecting that's just a standard amongst Western scholars because they know that such a thing
First of all, the other
he's
thing.
saying it in the context of Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson has bad things.
No. He's saying the context of Jordan things.
We don't have the same baggage that Muslims do that we have to believe.
Okay, so if something's
true, everything is true.
Let me answer one aspect of this. First of all, his idea that we Western thinkers, short of demanding that God appear before us, right? This first of all, to take the entire Western people and say that Western people in general are atheists. is ridiculous too, because Western people are not atheists by any means. Albert Einstein wasn't an atheist, and that's one of the greatest thinkers of the West, or claimed by the West. A lot of Western thinkers aren't atheists, right? And they're scientific minds and everything else. They are not atheists, and they're not atheists by not just because of just faith alone. They believe with certainty that God exists. And this idea that unless something appears before you where you witness with your own eyes, you won't believe it, that's nonsense, because we all acknowledge that we have a brain. We don't have to see our brain, right? We have witness testimony that humans have brains. And we believe that. Witness testimony comes in textbooks. That's a witness testimony. Me reading a textbook is a witness testimony. Mm-hmm. Me listening to a doctor say, I've opened up a brain, there's brains there, is a witness testimony.
Right, but his argument, again, is that there can be false things in something that you think is generally true.
And so here's
I'm actually breaking apart his entire idea of how you can get to the truth,
well,
right?
There's another thing there is that, unfortunately, the reason why the West has had to do this is because you can never really accept your books as completely true. You never can, because as a logical person, you realize there's blatant issues here. So you're like, oh, like Tommy Robinson, there's going to be some issues here, but overall, we still believe in it. And you have to do that for the Bible if you're a logical individual. But you don't have to do that for the Quran. And so that's why you agree with the premise the Bible is not objective, and so therefore you can pick and choose. But Muslims cannot do that.
For us, why
the Quran is objective.
The Quran,
because for us, basically, we don't
yeah.
have those kind of logical inconsistencies, and we maintain that objectivity. While Christians agree the Bible has issues, the Bible is subjective, the Bible is true in spirit. You can't say the Bible is true exactly.
But what's at the root of that?
Because you pick and choose.
But at the root of that, the reason why that's true,
it's not preserved.
What he's saying is this. He's saying anything man-made is prone to error.
Yeah.
Any book, but any book, whether it's Tommy Robinson, any person basically.
He's not saying that exactly.
Tommy Robinson's writing, whether it's whoever wrote the Gospels. Right point is they're humans who are relating their experiences, their knowledge as they experienced it, which is prone to error. The Quran is not a book written by a human being, spoken by a human being. Nothing. The Quran is literal, and this is one reason why we don't claim it's created. It's the literal speech of God. Which is different.
Your point in the beginning, first of all, I don't think he's even going to go that far. You're giving him too much credit, honestly, this guy.
That's his argument.
Yeah, no, he has very little credit, right? The way he's speaking. What you said at the beginning was perfect. Give me a criteria you would judge. If I said, this is written by God, give me a criteria. Before you criticize it, give me a point-by-point criteria, and then we will go through the book and determine it. Problem is, most people who attack Islam, they don't have a criteria, they have feelings. And a lot of those feelings are, well, basically the morality of the Quran doesn't agree with our Western liberal morality, and therefore we reject it just as a knee-jerk reaction, and we're not going to really put points forward. If you really put points forward and say, if this was written by God, if this is from God, it would have no contradictions. Mm-hmm. It would be consistent, right? It would be, again, prophecies. It will be miraculous, right?
Basically,
because God should be able to say things that humans can never say.
Yeah.
Predict the future, talk about the past, unlike anything else. Where we have to dig up the past and find out, oh, this is what was true in our history.
There's many things, but that's the core of it. The core of it is this. Look, if you're going to say the Quran, so we're claiming, the Muslim claim is the Quran's the truth, it's 100% the truth, and therefore Islam's the truth, right? And so if you're going to say it's not, the Quran is false, then bring a criterion, a logical criterion, that we would have to, for example, prove in order for it to be the truth. And almost no one has one. You ask these people who say Quran's false, what your criteria is, they're like, I don't know what the criteria should be. Then why are you saying it's false?
And there's another thing, dude, that's really important, like to play devil's advocate, because I've thought about it a lot. We say what makes the Quran objective is that, we're the only basically people who claim that our book is completely unchanged because it's man-made. Right? It's not man-made, it's God-made, basically, right? Everything else, there's men in between, which makes it lose perfection. But to play devil's advocate...
God-made is also technically incorrect.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, sure, but there's this difference opinion on that, right? But the main thing is, to play devil's advocate, even the Qurans we have in our hand, that's not created by God, that's not there by God. The Quran we have in our hand is in a way imperfect, because it's not the exact same thing, because it's written by a human. So it can never be perfect, right? That's an argument you can make like logically, which is that the second you've written it or printed it on paper, is that now still the perfect thing? Because now you've made it, right?
That's why we call it the Mus'haf. But the thing is, the spoken meaning, here's the thing, you can burn every copy of the Quran today, but the oral tradition is still there. So we actually have verbally again, you're talking about the preservation of the Quran now. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter what's written.
No,
you
no,
can
no,
burn
what I'm
every
saying
copy of
is
the Quran.
a purely
you can delete
logical
every
thing.
hard drive in the
Wait,
world.
what's the logical
The
thing?
The
Quran
purely
is still
logical
preserved.
thing is.
Did you understand what he said?
Yeah,
Yes, listen,
the purely
he
logical thing.
guesses his argument more, and basically it comes down to preservation. The reason why we have more confidence on whatever in the Quran is the truth, and all of it is the truth, is because we have great records when it comes to preservation. And let me just finish.
Preservation is a
Can
criteria.
I finish?
Yeah.
We also have lots of evidence, historical and archaeological evidence, which back up our claim that the Quran is preserved, like the Birmingham manuscript and others. And that's why we can say with a lot more certainty that what the Quran has is at least what the Prophet, may peace be upon him, came with.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not you believe it comes down to your understanding of whether or not Islam is the truth, right? And that comes down to understanding the context and a lot of the proofs for God that we can talk about. And once you understand, okay, this is from God, and you can also prove that, yeah, this is pretty much preserved, then you can properly understand and believe it as completely being the truth. And you cannot compare this of the Quran to somebody like Tommy
anyway,
Robbins.
Exactly,
who is
exactly.
completely-
Because the important thing with that argument is that it's not that you have to say what you like or dislike in the Quran. It's that this is the only text out there which is even claiming this.
Exactly.
There's no other text out there which is even claiming to be exactly what came down from God. Nothing else did. Now, what I'm going to say is the only counter to it that I've even thought is that, yes, technically, if you really think about it, it can't be perfect, just logically, because if ever a man does something, man can never create something perfect. So if you go to any hafiz, whatever is in his mind can never be perfect. He's a human. Right? So you can't rely on that as 100%. So yes, if you delete every text...
No.
So
See,
what
but
we're
this is where you're
relying
wrong.
on...
No, this is important.
Well, wait,
this is very important.
let me finish.
I think you're wrong about this, but anyway.
And because otherwise I wouldn't be a Muslim if I really believe what I'm saying. The only counter to that really is to say, it's like, this is the closest you can get. Nothing closer. Yes, you can never really get perfection because this world isn't perfect.
That
This
much
is
I
the
agree
closest
with
you can get.
Sure. At the end of the day, and we also believe that Allah said He's going to preserve the Quran.
Yeah.
And so that's
Which
one
is a
thing. But
miracle,
which is besides the point. But I would say collectively, when you have millions of people in the same situation, and you have it written down, by the way.
But
it's hard.
if you look at objectively, Marijn van Putten, like that German scholar, non-Muslim, who's looked into the Quran and its preservation, he also says, yeah, I looked really hard into it, but basically the max I can find is, a little like a change in a syllable here, a change in a syllable there, but no like entire verses missing or replaced, which is the case in the Bible, by the way.
The idea is, look, let's just say you bring 10, 15, 20 criteria to judge the Quran. One of them will be preservation, okay? And then all those criteria pass. It's the same thing as if we're all sitting here, a guy walks to our door and says, there's a werewolf outside. And then another guy walks in, says werewolf, and then just random people coming to our door, not 10, not 20, and they're coming from different parts, and then they're all claiming the same thing. At some point, you're like, okay, there's enough testimony. Like the evidence is so insurmountable, like you have to believe it. Same thing with the criteria. There's not going to be a book that exists that claims it's from God that would have the level that you could apply the level of scrutiny that you can do to the Quran, and the Quran will pass those scrutiny, while the other ones will fail at a very superficial level. And I'm talking about superficial, like it's not like close. There's no text that even comes close to this in terms of preservation, in terms of reliability, in terms of non-contradiction. Nothing even comes close. Everything else will fail in the second you glance at it.
Yes. In fact, to the extent that like non-Muslim scholars, secular scholars say that our hadith, the sayings of the Prophet, are better preserved and have a greater chain of narration than the Bible itself, right?
And for the sake of moving on, do you want to cover any more comments? There's a lot of other things to discuss. So we'll stop this for now.
I think there's one more thing, and then
Okay.
that's it. Okay, we'll do one more, and because the other one doesn't matter really. Natural law isn't compatible with Sharia, so the West or any democratic state is not for you folks who think Sharia is justifiable and can be implemented.
Man, that's so stupid on so many levels. Okay. No, okay.
Wait. Repeat the thing.
He's basically saying natural law is incompatible. And what he's essentially saying, natural, meaning we decide as we go.
Yeah,
No.
okay.
Natural law is not that.
That is basically
Natural
what he's
law, he's referring to what Hobbes and them are talking about, which is that humans have an innate nature which leads to certain fixed things. Like basically he says Hobbes believes that man is by nature in chaos, or other people believe man is by nature. Basically what they mean is there's inherent qualities in man which lead to certain conclusions.
Okay.
That's what they're saying.
So anyway,
it's a logical way to get
the
on
West
objectivity.
doesn't follow natural law for starters, so that argument on the whole sentence doesn't make any sense. But
It's the basis.
you don't
though.
understand Sharia anyway.
It's like a fitra thing?
No, almost basically. If you read their books, which we had to read in university, basically they say like Hobbes will say man is by nature a barbarian. They live in anarchy, so you need to have a strong king in order to control all this. Basically, that's the basis of all their law, and it is, by the way, till today.
And by the way,
Constitution is based on natural law.
Let's accept that. By the way, men, women, humans have desires, and they want to follow the desires in general. And all I would say to that is, that's literally what laws do. For example, the whole idea, he just said a king comes and puts in control. A government comes and sets some boundaries so there isn't anarchy. Similarly, that's literally what the Sharia aims to do. Let's give one simple example. There's a reason, men and women. Allah literally says, yes, men have desires, men want, women enjoy, women are beautiful to men, right? And so he puts limits. Don't appear in this way, rape is on, look down. So when you're passing by a woman and they look beautiful to you, look down, lower your gaze, right? If you're lowering your gaze, you're not touching, touching comes way later. Don't even look towards them, right? If they're not your sister, mother, lower your gaze. Look, that's what Sharia. Sharia is not just cutting off the hands and the legs, whatever. No, that's not what Sharia is. That is also a part of Sharia when you do bad things, whatever it is. But the idea is Sharia is just a law, just like this law, except instead of being a law created by man, which could be faulty, laws keep changing because we keep screwing up. Rather, this is a God-given law because God knows us best.
Another
Simple as
caveat there is I advise whoever wrote this to actually go read those initial scholars who wrote the natural law because they all base it on God. Later people said, oh, this is a secular way to base society, but actually read Hobbes. His whole thing is God. God created man to be this way. God has created man to be this way. It's all God-based. Even natural law is based on a creed.
See what what's weird about that is whoever this Hobbes guy is, who are the people who adopted Hobbes' philosophy is, do they agree with the people in India? Would they just come to the same conclusion, the same laws? Would they both agree on Roe v. Wade? Would everybody naturally gravitate towards the word Roe v. Wade? Or go in this country you can't decide if you want to keep it or not keep it. What kind of law are you talking about? There is no law. It's just whatever society finds desirable. And it is just desirable. Some people desire to have control over their bodies in a sense that if we want to abort the child, we abort the child. Other people desire to protect the child that could be aborted.
But this leads to extremes. You can say in Nazi Germany, the majority, or fine, you can even say a vocal minority, and then a majority of sheep all agreed to, let's just off the Jews, whatever. I'm just saying, look, but Islam, that's the benefit of a God-given objective morality. What happened to the Jewish people in Nazi Germany can never, I'm not saying it's impossible, but under Islamic law, practice Islamic law could never happen. Because God said you cannot just murder innocents. You can't just go house to house and kill someone because of what they believe. It's not a thing. It's just not a thing.
Yeah, there's a reason why you have to shift into an atheist society. Like, there's a reason why the communist countries were the most brutal murderers, because they had zero religious qualms about doing anything. For them, it was like, utilitarian. By starving all these Ukrainians, or starving all these Chinese, we're going to achieve these goals for our nations, the Great Leap Forward,
They would kill the Christian scholars, would crucify them, they would kill them.
The amount of Chinese that died under Mao, the amount of Russians that died under Stalin, Mussolini, look.
And they felt nowhere more so.
Even if it's a joke, right? Even if it's a joke, over online communities, this is on online sphere, obviously it's not in the real sphere, with even like fictional stuff like Thanos, with Thanos, right? Thanos did nothing wrong. Thanos is actually right. And what did Thanos want to do? He's like, people are starving in the universe. I'll fix that by deleting half the universe.
Even though he technically has all the power in the world with his little hand thing.
I know. Why not just double the food in the universe?
Whatever it is. But
they're both temporary.
But
honestly, they're both temporary. The idea is this. I always thought of it. On the snow, honestly, I thought it was completely insane. Here's this Thanos, super strong, apparently brilliant man, going to change the world. You know what? We have a starvation issue. I'm going to have the population arbitrarily. Why not just double the food? They're both temporary because eventually the population will double again and you'll be at the same point. And what, he's going to snap his fingers again and lose another arm?
It's just, they try to create a villain.
You double the food every now and again.
Yeah.
No.
They're just trying to create a villain who has like a moral,
But the dumb thing is that people, whether they're like legit or not, they're literally saying, to even have this idea that Thanos might have been right is ridiculous. And by the way, this exact same idea is genocidal. It is genocidal. Why? Because if you see, there was like this Israeli guy's podcast that actually became famous. And when one Israeli guy asked the other one, Zionist guy, essentially Zionist, asked the other one that, hey, if you had a button right now and would be able to just kill every single Palestinian with a click of button, would you do it? And nobody would find out. He said, yeah, I would. And he said, in fact, he actually claimed that majority of the people in Israel would click that button. But that is essentially when you lack any humanity and you don't have anything concrete. And this can happen here during the peak of communist phobia that was in America. Most U.S. people would press that button to kill all the communists.
Yeah, they would.
Right? They would.
In fact,
but I'll tell you this: Muslims would not.
Practicing Muslims.
Practicing Muslims would never get to that. Why? Because that is just mass murder. You are now killing non-combatants, right? There's so many this again. In every single case, they would say yes, despite killing women, children, everything else. Muslims would never do that.
You can't.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. What I would say is you look at the religion, you look at its teachings, you decide what you think is better. Don't look at the actions of Muslims. That probably won't lead you down great avenues.
Because we talked about
the
before,
religion
the grooming
itself.
gangs in UK and
Okay, there's
stuff,
all
yeah.
sorts of things that Muslims have done in history, which is not great. Have they done what people have done modern times? No, but they also didn't have the capacity to do that either. They just didn't. Like, it takes a lot of effort to kill that many people. And so I would say on top of that, another thing is, without having some kind of moral objectivity, you can't make any sort of claim. You can't say why it was bad for Aztecs to cut people's heads off on top of pyramids. How? Why is that bad? Their society thinks it's okay. Your society thinks democracy is okay. How would you decide between the two?
Well,
when everything is subjective.
Are you comparing cutting off of heads to democracy?
Look, point is, you can't even compare them.
They were right.
And
they were right. Jordan Peterson was right. People like you, are you compatible with the West?
Exactly.
Are you compatible with the West?
Literally,
the West could one-way vote to do that, and they'll be fine with it.
Because look, this is the most common argument I use. Like when I was in Berkeley, like talking to all these atheist people, I would say like, tell me why cutting someone's head off on top of a pyramid is wrong. And they had no argument why. I'm like, any argument you make is moral.
Bro, was he innocent?
And I'm like, any moral argument you make is something that you like. Just because you like something doesn't mean it's wrong. Or like
Did he
right
eat chicken? Then PETA would be like, well, it's good. If you ate chicken, then you should hang him.
Oh,
for killing an animal.
PETA would be probably all for
Who?
PETA.
Who's PETA?
The animal rights.
The animal rights. The crazy animal rights
Oh
position.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we addressed comments. I think maybe we'll pick and choose a bit more better, but
Yeah,
it was good.
But I think we can have.
This
a small
was our
session.
most watched video.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll give it. On that video. Do you know the next most watched video? We'll read all those comments too. Why not? If you want your comments read on this video, beat 520 views.
Yeah. Couple other topics we want to get into, but before we jump into Trump and all the bajillion executive orders he signed over the past week, I do want to briefly talk about this. It happened right after our last podcast. The ceasefire happened in Gaza, and big news is so far it seems to be holding. Kind of. There was these reports of some Israeli snipers shooting some child and someone will come to save him, but short of that, I think the ceasefire has been upheld, and 3 hostages were released from Hamas to Israel last Wednesday, and about 70, 90, I can't remember the exact number, some number in the around, I think 80, 90, were released, Palestinian prisoners were released, they call them prisoners, probably hostages at this point, honestly, from Israel to the West Bank.
Yeah, so there's 3 phases. In the first phase, which we're currently in, which is going to apparently last 6 more weeks or something, they're planning to release 30 of those hostages throughout this first phase. And then the rest of the 50, I think they have total 80. They're going to release 30 of them in this first phase. And then there's 2 more phases of this, which Trump has forced them to agree to.
Listen, and this is something we realized with the first set of hostages that were released many, many months ago from Hamas to Israel, is that they seem to be, these 3 young women, I don't know, they seem to be pretty young by the photos, look to be in decent health. They were given goodie bags with certificates of hostage freedom or something from Hamas. And I mean, this is very important, and I'll bring this up. Just looking at them, right? So, a couple of things I'll bring up. I'll start with, there's 2 or 3 points, and I'll hand it off to you guys. But one is, there were all these things of rape. I'm just saying, if these Hamas soldiers, in the 6 hours or whatever they had, a few hours, in this quick attack they did on October 7th, they were committing mass rape, which is obviously untrue, but even any rape, then these 3 young women who have been in Gaza under Hamas occupation, basically they're prisoners, right? They're hostages for 430 days or whatever it's been now. Come out unscathed in that sense, right? There is no rape, there's no nothing. And if you truly, let's say there wasn't rape, but then they abused them or whatever, you feel, so my point is, if I was a hostage and I'm finally about to be released, I'm one of the 3, I'm about to finally make it across the border, I'm going to be really serious, I'm going to be very stoic, I don't want to piss anybody off. I don't want to make my captors angry, so they swap me out with some other prisoner last second. I can see freedom. It's right there. I'm going to stay quiet. But no, they're smiling. They're accepting the goodie bags.
You'll be very worried.
They crossed the border, and of course, they're super happy. My point is, when they crossed the border and they met their family, they were even happier. Of course. They were hostages, right? It's not an ideal situation, but my point is, if you are a threatened, abused, victim, hostage for over a year, you're going to freaking keep your mouth shut, stay quiet until you make it over the border into your own people, and then finally smile. But that wasn't the case from when they were in Gaza, walking through the swaths of Palestinians there until they made it over the border. So it seems like they were very well taken care of. And it makes all those rape accusations very nonsensical. I don't know what your guys' opinion on that is.
I think the only point I would make is that, like, you don't, even if you're someone who, which I think Islam is very against the taking of civilians in civilian areas as hostages for military purposes, even if you're against all that, you can see a very clear difference in the people who are released by Israel and the people who are released by Hamas. Like, you can be against, you can be pro-Israel, you can be pro-Hamas, you can be whatever you want to be. It's just so obvious. There's no comparison.
On the other side, there was rioting because they should be allowed to abuse their prisoners.
Yes, literally, it went to court that, these people are put in jail for raping some Palestinians. People are rioting and saying, we should free them. They should not be punished for raping Palestinians. That's happening on one side. So forget claims of this happening. It's objectively happening.
That's going to rape. Imagine what they're doing besides that. These people who are and this if you look at the faces of the people who are being released, they are scared.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going to happen to them. They're not very settled until they actually make it across back to their families. Mm-hmm. And even then, they'll have PTSD. They'll have trauma.
Our handyman, the one who works here, he's Palestinian. He says he went to an Israeli jail, I believe, once or twice, and he says they tortured us. They tortured us. They had us walk around naked. They did just humiliation of all kinds. He was like, these are people that we know directly who have gone through this, and it's a horrendous.
But there seems to be a very, very stark difference between the prisoners kept on both sides.
Yeah.
And that much is obvious. Anybody who wants to deny it's.
Another thing, which is that we were talking, I gave him a call right when I read it because it's crazy that we got a ceasefire, okay, like literally right before Trump even got into office. And I'm like, this is what we've been doing all our work for. We've been writing letters and been doing protests and all this stuff, asking for a ceasefire. And it's very obvious, all major commentators agree, that Trump is the one who got this to happen with his special envoy. Like, Muslims should be celebrating this.
We don't celebrate. We just can't get happy on anything. We can't celebrate.
Cynical.
It is.
I'm telling you, Salahuddin Ayyubi will come and liberate Palestine, and we'll be like, he's a stooge.
He's a Mossad agent.
Yes. He killed Muslims in Egypt.
And we won't celebrate.
Yeah.
Trust me. We will not celebrate.
If the Muslims alive today were there during Salahuddin Ayyubi's time, they would think he's like some Mossad agent.
Yeah, they would.
Dude, all you have to do is look at the people of the land. If they're happy, you're happy. Simple. Syria happened. We didn't know what to think. We looked at the Syrian brothers and sisters. They were celebrating. The Syrian restaurant owners had the rebel flag flying. We're like, we're the ones who fought for this. They became free.
Which is true.
And they were super happy. Who were not happy? All the desis, all the normal uncles in the Muslim community. It's all a game. My intellectual prowess is telling me, my political analysis is demonstrating this is all a Zionist game. Dude, forget your analysis.
Yeah, you're just talking about the normal people. But when you said the organization CARE, right? They wrote a letter against this.
No, they did a protest, right?
No.
They did a protest.
So right now with this ceasefire, right? Firstly, people in Gaza are happy, celebrating, super happy. Videos from the hospital.
They're all over the streets.
Yes.
They're going around.
You didn't see any of that happening here.
Oh, wait, before we move on, let's just clarify what this is from John Mearsheimer, by the way, a great analyst. He says in this ceasefire, what Israel has apparently agreed to, we don't know if they're going to fill it, but they've agreed to evacuate the border between Egypt and Gaza. So the Egyptian border,
corridor.
It's called, Philadelphia corridor. They're going to evacuate that. There's another one called the Netzarim corridor. They're going to stop any settlements in North Gaza and allow Gazans to return to North Gaza.
Return to North Gaza.
Is amazing.
Which means they haven't annexed it.
Yes.
Wait, stop any settlements, which means they were settling it.
They were planning to. It was announced and stuff. Now they're going to stop that. Third, they're going to allow gas. They're going to allow food. They're going to allow electricity. They're going to allow water. All of this will be allowed to cross into Gaza now. This is what Netanyahu has agreed to, as well as a three-phase thing, which includes, I believe, 8-week ceasefire implemented immediately, which has been in effect.
There are videos of these trucks tons of them
Aid
coming
trucks.
in, aid trucks, and like the Palestinians are kind of jumping on the trucks to get the aid. It is,
What was
it
it?
is a sad sight to see, but it's
200,000
also
people?
finally
Yeah.
we're getting something. And here's a segue to the Trump topic: is Trump's envoy, Steve, I just
Witkoff.
looked up his name, Witkoff.
Witkoff.
Interesting, and your brother just sent this video to all of us, and I was listening to it before I got here, and it's very interesting because they point out that the Republic, the neocons on the far right, basically the super Zionist neocons are hating on him because he recently made a speech, or he responded in an interview saying that Hamas said to him basically, or to the United States, we are happy to openly discuss anything. Basically, all discussion on the table, we're happy to discuss anything and everything with the United States of America in order to basically resolve the
Yeah, I
conflict,
saw that,
whatever. And Steve Witkoff, right, was asked about this, and his response was, basically, we're open to talking. Of course, we're open to talking, right? We want peace. Like, peace is the goal. We want the ceasefire to be successful long term, right? And so he was on board, and immediately these guys are like, wait, 3 points. What did he say? He said he's willing to negotiate with terrorists or whatever. Point number 2, he's gonna aid this, that, and point it's ridiculous. Basically, they're all in this case. And what are they saying? Who do they want to replace him with? They're saying, third point, they said he's a sellout to Qatar. He's a Qatar sellout, right?
Nonsense.
And who do they want to replace him? His son-in-law. What's his son-in-law?
Jared
Kushner.
Kushner.
Jared
Oh,
Kushner.
Kushner.
And who's a sellout to Saudi because the guy's made billions off Saudi Arabia. So it's like, no, they just want the guy who's going to be like, yes, Israel, whatever you want, Zionist, good, everything Zionism, great. And here's the guy who's saying, look, we will talk to all sides because we actually want to secure peace. Screw everybody else.
What I'm confused about, it is interesting, and I think ultimately, it's from Allah. This is from Allah because I can't see any reason why this would happen. It makes no sense.
Trump.
They are literally pushing, and they're getting exactly what they want. They're going to settle North Gaza. They're going to kill as many people as they want. They were going to kill even more if they continue the war. This was perfect for Israel, right? Why does even Trump, right? I understand Trump, right? Trump is a personality that wants to talk to North Korea. He wants to talk to Putin. Why wouldn't he talk to Hamas? He has no problem with it. I understand it from the perspective of Trump.
He hates war.
But, and he hates war. From a Trump perspective, I completely understand why he wants a ceasefire, right? But I don't understand from when we were discussing his cabinet. His cabinet became super Zionist.
So,
When we were discussing his cabinet picks and all that stuff, it is
Marco
crazy.
Rubio,
It's
all
crazy
these people,
how
yeah.
Zionist, neocon, warmongers he hired. Yet the first thing he does, even before office, is he stops the war.
So-
But he promised it. But I was so I was looking at his cabinet. I'm like, I know he promised it, but will he get it done?
he got it done.
crazy.
And point is, so Mearsheimer was saying this. He's like, look, Trump has to walk a very fine line. He accepted tens of millions of dollars from Miriam Adelson, a major Jewish donor, okay, a pro-Zionist donor.
$1 billion.
And he, $1 billion? I don't think so. 100 million. And basically he has to walk a fine line. He doesn't want war. It seems like he has an issue with Netanyahu personally. He is pro-Israel, but he's very anti-war, okay? And he was saying, by the way, when October 7th happened, this is right when the Israeli retaliation, every other news media was saying Israel has a right to defend itself. He was saying, we need to stop this. He was the first major American commentator.
This. I remember this.
Remember, I sent the interview to everyone back then, and he was sitting there, and he wasn't present or anything, and he was like, the war needs to end immediately. This is bad for both sides.
He said this very early.
Very early.
We're
I'm talking about
early.
October. I'm talking about October.
Yeah.
Right after the Israeli offensive started, he was like, we need to end this. This is not good for us.
So this is why it's so important for us to recognize why it's important for us to be happy in this moment. Why it's important for us to recognize that Trump made this happen. His envoy made this happen.
Yes. Yeah.
This whole battle right now that's happening in the Republican Party about maligning Steve Witkoff. Thank God he's Jewish. Or you can't call him an anti-Semite.
You can't be anti-Semite.
Okay.
Right?
No.
But
He's a self-hating Jew.
Oh.
Yeah, it's nonsense, right? I mean,
Like Candace Owens is self-hating black,
The way he
right?
did this,
Yeah,
by the
exactly.
way, he went to Netanyahu on the Sabbath, saying, "Hey, I need to talk to you about the ceasefire." And he said, "Oh, our office is closed. It's a Sabbath." He's like, and then he told Trump. Trump said something. He said it. Apparently, he said, "I don't give a damn about your Sabbath." And they said, "Okay," and that's what really freaked him out. And he said, "I need peace done." before I come.
You mean this happened after he won the
Before
The
ceasefire happened
inauguration.
before he got
Yeah,
when we
yeah,
got the news, Steve Witkoff, Trump's envoy, went and told Netanyahu, essentially, I don't care about your Sabbath. I need peace before I get inaugurated. And this happened. And now we have to celebrate this. We have to support this.
Yeah.
No,
We should support the
And there's a
Republican
lesson
no,
here in that
that's
a lot of Muslims were wanting to vote for Biden on what? Trump is a warmonger. And who are we going to vote for instead? The guy who the genocide started under and the guy who couldn't stop the genocide for almost 2
Exactly.
years.
It is so important to recognize this. Instead, we
and
focus
they
on
tried
other
to take the
nonsense.
credit
They
on the
did.
last day of office,
Yes,
right?
they did.
But not only this, right? Trump, unlike Biden, actually made headway into getting Muslim vote, right? He talked to imams. He did this whole thing in Michigan. He clearly, and he recognized it in his speech.
And you know, that's
The
good.
Muslims and the Arab
That's
Americans.
good on the imams.
Yes.
That's good on the Muslims of Michigan.
No, no,
Thank
no.
God
But
they
what
approached
I'm
the
saying
Republican
is,
Party.
what I'm saying is, look,
Because otherwise,
Yes.
we're all Democrats.
Muslims need to be
Exactly.
bipartisan.
Exactly. Look at Kier. You know what?
In this case, Muslims should be Republican.
let me
Listen,
unfortunately.
what Kier's leader, Nihad Awad, released a statement when the ceasefire happened. And what did he do? Even though Biden's still the president, he thanked Trump.
Thank
he
God.
thanked Trump's envoy. However, Kier is still very democratic as a whole.
Yeah.
And so,
Sad,
a few
yeah.
days later, there was a protest in the Bay Area. Hey, let's all get out and protest Trump's hidden agenda. And who was participating? CARE, Jewish Voice for Peace, bunch of other orgs, they're all Democrat leaning. And so they all came out to protest Trump's hidden agenda, even though he delivered you peace.
Yes. It's ridiculous.
And right now they're fighting to get phase 2 done too. Steve
is-
Witkoff will visit Gaza. Israel doesn't want anything.
and by
This
the-
push
and
doesn't
by
want
the
the
way,
U.S. to get
Trump
into
in a
Gaza.
recent interview-
Steve Witkoff is because he wants phase 2.
And there's a video of Trump
And he's willing
sitting
to
on the
negotiate
desk,
for it.
and they're saying to him, "Do you think that the ceasefire will hold?" And he looks like genuinely sad about it. He's like, "I don't think so, but we're gonna try to make it happen." Like genuinely, he's like, "I don't think they're gonna be able. I don't think they're gonna manage this to make the ceasefire hold." The reason is Netanyahu. One person already resigned. A faction of his government resigned. Another, I believe, Smotrich, has said that if he continues past phase 1, like enters into phase 2 of the ceasefire, he's going to leave the government will collapse. And he also go to re-elections, and he would probably will not win. And so apparently Netanyahu's having difficulty, and Trump is expecting probably.
The only one who can enforce this
It's Trump.
is the U.S., right? And
Yeah.
if Trump is using the U.S.'s power, sending Steve Witkoff to Gaza to inspect what's happening, I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But what are the Muslims doing? Oh, I don't know what the game
No, see,
plan
what I-
is.
that's what-
I don't know.
that
My
is sad.
analysis
That
is,
is
not
sad.
working
So
out.
sad.
It's ridiculous.
I'm not saying there's some nefarious behind the scenes probably happening. Okay,
That's always happening.
there are. But when you get a win, take the win.
Take the win.
Take the W. Not every W is also a hidden L. Like this is
I'm
ridiculous.
telling you, Salahuddin
And you're-
Ayyubi, you
No, so-
still consider a loss.
So what I was saying
in
is,
this age.
what I was saying, I don't understand. Okay, when you have Biden, there's nothing we Muslims could have said to Biden to have any effect.
We said everything.
You couldn't do anything to Biden.
We voted for him.
You know, Trump is so easy. Trump is so easy to get him to like. First of all, he's not a warmonger, but Trump is so easy. All you gotta do is like him.
Flatter him. Dude, give
Flatter him.
MAGA hats to people in Gaza. Literally. Give them MAGA hats. Be like,
Oh my
hey,
God.
thank you, Trump. You delivered us peace.
You know,
He'll be like, yes, the people of
if
Gaza.
Palestinians start
They're
wearing
good
MAGA
people.
hats,
They're good people. That's what he
If
would say.
on both sides.
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
good people on both
That's
sides.
what he would say.
Dude,
He would say-
you pretty much said the best thing. If the Palestinians wear MAGA hats,
And how's like a
and
MAGA
there's
flag?
a picture of a bomb falling on MAGA hats,
Oh.
Holy
Oh
my
God. That imagery.
Oh, that image.
all the
Will be deleted from the internet,
Palestinians have to do is go around wearing MAGA hats and they won't be killed.
Exactly. Because you just need
Dude,
to flatter
you
Trump.
literally
You need to butter him up.
Someone needs to tell these
No,
the
no,
Gazans.
But you know, outside
It
of
is
jokes though.
insane what you just said right now. All the people, look at the doctor who went.
I heard there's some Sagar, by the way, in Breaking Points. He's one of the journalists there.
All the
A great
doctors
idea.
who
Very
went
good,
there,
very good,
all
yeah.
the doctors who went there and all that stuff, and the entire what was it? The people who the entire aide that died. If they're wearing MAGA hats, this will be outrage.
Hey, by the way, who is Sagar? Who is this guy?
He's
Oh, the guy from Breaking Points.
I think.
But what is
like
Breaking
an Indian
Points?
origin guy. He's like a white. He was like a Washington correspondent. Like you know the.
He seems to know people. Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of those journalists. You know how you can have journalists sitting in front of the White House speaker
Right.
as he's talking
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
journalists.
yeah. He's one of those.
He's one of those guys who used to try to get in and He knows a lot of people in Washington. He's read a lot of books.
What's also kind of
He's
segueing
pretty
to the other
good.
thing is it's really sad with these Muslim organizations like CARE and like MacPac, whatever. Like these people are trying to start these Muslim political groups. Is they take a lot of stances on things which are too specific, right? Like you're gonna sit there and tell me don't vote for Trump because he's gonna end birthright citizenship. Again, why is this a Muslim issue? Is this a high priority Muslim issue? You're basically saying, oh, it's really important for Muslims to let people who come here illegally have children who are U.S. citizens. Is that really a major issue for Muslims? Is that basically you're saying as a Muslim we want to encourage people to enter a land illegally?
That might be a Democrat issue.
It might be a Democrat issue.
a Democrat issue.
But
It is a
create
Democrat
a
issue.
Muslim Democrat thing.
By the way, the Gulf state, no birthright.
No, bro.
Yeah. Okay.
Only
And-
Pakistan.
and-
Pakistan is the only Muslim country, I believe, with birthright.
Has a birthright.
Land by land.
But
yeah.
you know another interesting thing though. But on a serious note, about the whole Palestinians wearing MAGA hats. It makes sense though. No.
It is such a big
No.
point.
But besides the imagery, no, sure, the imagery is great, and there's no doubt Trump loves flattery. Okay, he'll probably admit to this. There's no problem with that. But it's more than that. It's like it's easier to want to help a people who you know don't hate you, maybe even love you. Okay,
Exactly.
So even if you are humanitarian, let's just say Trump, and let's say he clearly has a human side. His hate for war, his like. There's good people like not wanting. He's a good broker, right?
He didn't go after Clinton, by the way. That's what was crazy to me. He didn't go after Clinton when he became
When he won.
president.
Yeah,
but
sure.
then now, when Biden went after him, he's like, I'm going to get vengeance. He's
Yeah.
saying that now. But he didn't go after Clinton.
Yeah, no, good. But here's the thing. So he seems like intelligent. I don't know. He has some human like intelligence.
He
right?
seems human.
Yeah, he
Yes.
seems human exactly. And so my point is this: it's much easier to want to get behind the people who don't show hate towards
Yes.
you. You can see that. Let's say there's a poor man on the street who hates your guts. You know what? I might still give him $10. He could be flipping me off, and I'll be like, bro, here's a meal. Right? You could do that. But imagine he's like, I love you. You guys are great. You know, free Palestine or whatever. Right? He yells this at me. I'll be like, you know what? Here's a meal for you and one for tomorrow. I'm just saying it's a bit easier. I don't donate because someone loves me, ideally. But my point is, it is naturally easier to help people who show love towards you. So yes, if Palestinians, they don't have to necessarily wear a MAGA hat. But if Hamas leadership, whoever the Palestinian from Gaza or the West Bank leadership comes out and says, look, we don't have some innate enmity towards Americans or America or Trump for that matter, right? We're here to work with you. And if Americans can help broker a peace and get us true freedom and help us rebuild our freaking homes, we'll hug you. freaking
that's-
let's go.
that's
Trump's
the same- that's the
Trump's
same
favorite
argument.
fighter is
But-
Khabib.
By the way, an extension of the argument is like one thing I
That's-
always think is like if you're a Muslim country, like you're a Muslim government, it's always in your benefit for America to like you. It's always. They're the most powerful country on the planet. So if you're Hamas or you're anything, you're Taliban, I would say, just if they really are so desperate for some random girls' education thing, just fake it.
do it.
Doesn't have to be real. Just do it. Just make them happy because it's worth it. Like, would you rather have your people be sanctioned if you can just let some girls get educated and not have
I
sanctions?
do think there's a
you know?
limit. I mean, I'm not saying
There's a limit, but just fake it.
I'm not sure
Try.
where that red line is, but just pandering to America, whether they're right or wrong, right? Because look, America's foreign policy kind of sucks, and so you will be pandering all the time.
Because America
right?
sanctioned a lot of people for LGBT laws.
There is a
Okay,
limit, right?
So here's the thing. So there's a limit. How far are you willing to go? But yes, if something sounds reasonable, and America's like, even Taliban said, look, we kind of want females' education, but we have other priorities higher on our list. But let's say America.
Honestly, it's a
gets
very
bit
wishy-washy
happier.
argument,
No,
okay.
but whatever. I'm just saying. But let's just say it is 10th on their list of their top 10 priorities. Okay, and now America's like, well, we want you to prioritize this, and maybe that comes with certain benefits, less sanctions, even. It's like, okay, screw it.
It's
do
an
it.
easy ask. Get
Yeah.
it done.
Just
But
fake it.
you know, this comes from the idea that any support from the U.S. is evil,
Yes.
right? People have this notion. One of our cousins has this notion too, where if the U.S. is supporting a group, that means khalas, they are the evil ones. Support the other group. That's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
We were very happy when the U.S. intervened in Bosnia,
Yes.
in Kosovo, and helped the Muslims.
Yes.
And stopped the war.
By the way, a lot
We
of
wanted
these
them to
conservatives are
intervene.
against that, by the
We
way.
were not like America first, don't intervene in the world. We wanted them to intervene on the side of justice.
Or Rwanda, or
you
whatever,
do want
right?
that. So be nice to
Yes.
America in a way. You don't have to be crazy, but
Just,
I mean,
yeah,
you
don't
want them on
become
your side.
pathological.
You want them on
if they
your
do
side, it's
something
possible.
right, if they do
Right.
something right, applaud them. Show that you don't think that they're the most evil people on the planet, because that's not appealing for any country to think that everyone, like a bird group thinks they're evil.
You alluded to this earlier, and I kind of mentioned it before, but this whole idea of like, if America, does something, it's automatically evil. Just like, what was a lot of people's problems in Syria? When Syria was finally freed, Assad regime fell. what was the first thing? Well, Netanyahu seems to be happy about this. If Israel's happy about anything, or Netanyahu smiles about something, it automatically has to be bad, regardless of what the Syrians are smiling to. Here's the entirety of Syria and all Syrian refugees across the world smiling, happy, liking this, and then Netanyahu goes, and now they're like, So, dude, calm the frick down.
Yeah,
but
be
that's
cautious,
as
be
if they have
cautious,
complete
but
control of the
celebrate your
situation.
victories.
See, the thing is, this is called not having yaqeen, not having any tawakkul Allah, right? Because as if Netanyahu has such complete grasp of the situation, nothing goes outside of his way.
Sami Hamdi
It's
talked
such a
about
ridiculous
this. He
thing.
said sometimes we as Muslims ascribe powers to the Zionists that can
They don't
only be
even have-
ascribed to Allah.
That they dreamed they could have, literally.
Powers that only belong to Allah. All of this was a game. All was a plan.
Ridiculous.
It went to exactly Netanyahu's plan. Oh man, he's not God. He can't plan everything. Things go against his plan. This
the
whole
time.
ceasefire
But
thing
Shaitan is very
definitely not
strong,
his plan.
brother. Shaitan is...
Allah says in the Quran, you think that they are united, وَقُلُوبُهُمْ شَتَّى, right? Their hearts are completely
Oh,
spread
right now,
apart. This is part
the
of the Quran.
riots that were happening in Israel because they accidentally shot a bunch of their own people, right? Their own citizens. And there's huge
yeah.
riots happening.
Wait, when was this?
I haven't seen
Very
it.
recent.
Yes, they shot some settlers
Several
in the
days.
West Bank.
I think the
Because they
riots
thought they
were-
were Palestinian.
Yes.
That was the problem. Oh, if only they were Palestinians,
They'll be fine.
everything would have been fine. But they accidentally shot settlers thinking they were Palestinians. And because they shot settlers, it's a problem.
It's a problem.
Unbelievable.
And there's riots against their own
And
police.
and you know what's crazy is like the whole argument for this war was we need to eradicate Hamas, right? We have to eradicate Hamas. It's okay, we'll let these people die. I talked to Jews about this and they say, oh, we have to destroy Hamas, so it's worth it. And now I'm like looking, you see like on like the Israeli right, whatever, like, they're all like justifying it. I'm like, you did not defeat Hamas. And they know it.
They lost.
They say
They lost.
we did not defeat Hamas, we had to save our people. But that was your justification for murdering Palestinians, was that you were going to eradicate Hamas. And everyone told you couldn't do it, and now you haven't done it.
Did you see how many Hamas militants came out of freaking nowhere when the hostage exchange was happening?
These green bandana people, where'd they come from?
Everywhere.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Everywhere.
I've seen some videos. They're just popping everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. And there's some interviews where like, even like, the Palestinians in Gaza are like, dude, we don't know, like,
we don't know where they're coming from.
ceasefire happened and these guys just came out of nowhere. Right? It's like,
And then they
it's
say
interesting.
all the tunnels are destroyed. If all the tunnels were destroyed, where are the Hamas militants? You look at the satellite imagery, Gaza is rubble. So they're not living in that rubble. Maybe they are, possibly. We
Look,
don't know.
they came out of North Gaza too, by the way. They were all over North Gaza
Apparently,
as soon as ceasefire happened. Anyway,
What's crazy is though, it's a
It's-
really small area.
It's such
So
a small
what
area.
is Israel doing? And basically Mearsheimer is like, look,
They blew
the
the
honest
crap
thing
out
is,
of it. What do you
he's
mean?
like,
Yeah.
Mearsheimer is like, they will not be able to destroy Gaza. No, it doesn't matter how good your military is until you kill every single Palestinian.
They're helping
basically.
recruit more
Because
people.
Yes.
You're
What are
never
you
going to
do?
eradicate
It's
them.
like, Musk said this too.
It's
Musk is like,
impossible.
for every bomb
He
you
said
drop,
it.
how many terrorists are you creating?
Exactly. Before he went to Israel,
Before you went to
his
Israel.
pre-Netanyahu
Pre-
exposure,
pre-brainwashing,
Elon did say that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
yeah. Well, I think we've spoken at length about this. I do want to move on because there's a lot to talk about. Trump's first few days in office and the stacks of public kind of executive orders he was signing with like a crowd watching him or something. He's like, oh, what is this one about? Oh, this is about the border, is it? Well, let me tell you about this one, guy.
Yeah.
Very important. He's signing.
Huge
How about,
crowd, by the way.
I don't know how long we've been going for, but how about we quickly discuss every single one? Like, let's just go with birthright. we didn't go completely with
We could
birthright.
go with birthright.
What do you
It's
think
been
about
about
birthright?
58 minutes. It's been about an hour. But I'll just read them if it's something
Let's
worth
just go
talking
to a
about.
couple. There's a
No,
lot.
we don't need to go. There's a lot on our mind anyway.
Nationally, he called in. Okay, we can just read them really quick. Trust me, it's like 36 points. National emergency at the border. Okay, that's one. He ends the catch and release program, which basically when you catch them, you don't release them in America until their processing is done. You send them back to Mexico until the processing is done, and then they come back to
Hey,
America.
but what
after
if
the
they
process.
truly were seeking asylum from Mexico and then you send them back to Mexico? Isn't that
No,
easy?
also, by the way, he signed executive order stopping any asylum and refugee entry.
Well, number one, he declared the Mexican cartels a terrorist organization.
We're
For
getting-
the first time ever, you have a non-Muslim group.
terrorist organization.
It's terrorist.
I'm very
That's a
happy about it.
terrorist.
And by
Global
the way,
terrorists. We're getting there. So he reinstates the Remain in Mexico policy. 4, he resumes the border wall construction, the one he started in his first presidency. 5, designates cartels as a global terrorist. Okay, and this enables tougher measures. So there's little points here I have for them as well, including tougher measures to target them, including financial networks and leadership. 6, suspends refugee settlement for 4 months. This for all refugees.
apparently there's 3,000 Afghanis who are currently in Albania in transit to the United States, but are stuck there because he stopped for 4 months.
All right. Now, 7th, challenges birthright citizenship, revising the interpretation of the 14th Amendment citizenship guarantee. You guys want to talk about
Say
this
that
one?
again slowly.
That's a constitutional right. He can't do anything about it. It's a waste of
Yeah,
time.
the birthright citizenship, several states have already sued him over it. Apparently, before, like, the second he signed the order, there were, like, 4 sues.
It's in the Constitution.
Yes.
You cannot revoke it unless you get like 75%
Is he,
of the
is he,
Senate
is
or
he
something.
revoking?
Executive order is
Is
gonna
he
do
revoking
nothing.
illegal?
No,
Yeah,
birthright
it's illegal.
citizenship applies to
constitutional.
No,
anyone.
what he's saying
If
is
you're
that...
born in this land, it doesn't matter how it happens. You could have fallen over the border and your baby was birthed on this land. It's an American.
What he's saying, basically, he's reinterpreting it and saying that, only if you're legally in this land. That's what he's saying.
And he has some kind of grounds based on the text. There's some things about like the jurisdiction off or something. There's some ambiguous terminology
And I
in the
believe
actual
there were some
amendment.
cases in the past.
In my case, I don't care what the Constitution, whatever says. I say if you are here legally and you're a kid, that's fine. I don't see a problem. I don't see a problem with him banning illegal people from getting birth.
Because,
control.
by the way, it makes a lot of sense.
This law makes
because-
sense to me.
Because,
It
by the
makes
way,
sense. His revision makes sense to me.
Right now the incentive is cross the border any way you can, have a kid here so your kids can become citizens. You're incentivizing
they'll invite
them.
you eventually over.
And eventually you'll get here through like the chain migration thing, which we are guilty of, right? And so what you would do is you would stop that incentive. Say, only try coming here if you can come legally, otherwise your
Well,
children
we're
have
not
no
guilty
hope.
of it because we were here legally.
No. We're guilty of chain migration in the sense of one person got here legally and brought all his family.
No,
Trump
by the
also
way,
against
when they give you the
Yeah,
passport,
fair.
That's
you
legal.
know when they
Which
give
is
you the
legal,
passport,
yeah.
they give you certain benefits of having the U.S. passport, right? They literally tell it to you when you're getting the passport. First thing they tell you is that you can travel anywhere in the world. Like the passport allows you to travel to a lot of countries, right? The second thing they tell you is you could bring your family over. They literally tell you that as you're giving you the passport, right? That this is one of the perks of having the U.S. passport.
I remember this when we went with our dada. Yeah.
On the visa thing, by the way,
yeah.
I just checked. Israel now requires U.S. citizens to get a visa starting 1st January.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
it's like a basic, very simple online application thing.
Interesting.
But it's there.
Interesting.
Is it vice versa? Do Israelis have to do the same?
I don't know. But I know this is there now, which means they probably are screening your social media profiles, making sure you're not anti-Israel.
Probably.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
A quick search is probably
Anything else
happening.
to say about this? Let's move on. That's all the points. All right. 8. Troops deployed to the border. So now there's actual
1,500, I believe,
yeah,
and he's going
there's
to
troops,
double it, I believe, soon.
to repel mass migration, drug trafficking, and human smuggling. All right. 9.
That's great.
Enhances border vetting. All right.
Why not?
So that was border stuff. Government reform. Right. So number 10, he ends government censorship. So he emphasizing First Amendment rights. 11, federal hiring and regulation freeze. So this is targeting agencies at the IRS. 12, targets weaponization of government. I'm not sure what this means. It says here, restores fairness by addressing partisan misuse of federal power.
Sure.
One thing I can see here is, and we can discuss a little bit later, but let's get to the points. 13, rescinds 78 Biden orders, reverses policies that allegedly undermine American prosperity and security. 14, revokes security clearances, cancels security clearances for former officials linked to Hunter Biden laptop controversy. That makes sense, obviously. 15, restores death penalty, ensures states have a right to necessary lethal injections.
Wait. So you're saying the death penalty as a federal was banned at the federal level?
Maybe there was a Biden order that stopped it and he replaced it with something else.
I'll be honest,
This-
I don't know.
This is a state issue, though. He can't do anything about
Okay.
it.
No. I know it's a state issue, but it seems like he's giving the power.
He's
back
giving
to
power
the
back
states.
to the states.
Probably,
Yeah.
which is a general
Which
policy.
is great.
Also, I don't know if
That's
it's
what Roe
on
v.
your,
Wade was,
I don't know
right?
if it's on your list, but he's also destroyed FEMA, basically. He's saying, I want to get rid of FEMA, which
he
is
did?
the federal emergency response thing. And basically he's saying, if a hurricane comes to Florida, let Florida deal with it. If it comes to Georgia, let Georgia deal with it. He's like, I know, I've talked to the governors there, FEMA only causes problems for them. Because anything they want to do, they have to get it approved by FEMA. FEMA's causing all these issues. Let the states deal with it. And if they need money from us, we'll send the money directly to them, from the federal to them. There needs to be no big bureaucracy in between. And I'm like,
That's
that
great.
makes sense.
I don't know where all the politicking is, but if apparently this is an issue and governors agree, then I'm on board. It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay. 16. Reforms policy-making federal positions. Reclassify certain roles to enhance accountability and dismiss underperforming employees. All right. Now we're down to economic policy. 17. Addresses cost of living crisis. Aims to reduce financial burdens on American families through targeted reforms. 18. Implements America First foreign policy, which prioritizes U.S. interests in all State Department operations and programs. 19. Suspends foreign aid for 90 days. Pauses U.S. foreign assistance programs for review. 20.
It's just 90 days?
I guess
guess
until they
so.
review them and decide.
Apparently,
whether
what
to
I read on The Guardian or something was basically he told all the aid agencies, your people cannot travel anywhere unless you're coming back to the United States, and you can use whatever funding you have currently because you're not going to get any new funding. Just finish what what you have and wrap up all your things, except
For which
Israel.
organization?
USAID.
He's
Any
moving
US aid program.
Fast.
Well, the U.S. aid
Very
thing is
fast.
important.
It's huge.
In fact, this strategy is useful for any kind of money-related thing, which is stop all the funding we're giving you right now. If you want it back, make a good case
Come
for
to
it.
the table,
again.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just don't automatically get money deducted like, say, your Netflix subscription, I'm sure.
All right.
Yeah.
20.
Which you don't watch, of course.
For what?
Netflix.
On Netflix.
20 rejects global tax deal, safeguards American companies from extraterritorial taxation. And this is referring to EU tax and stuff like that. I read about this recently. 21 declares national energy emergency, rolls back wind farm leasing, ends electric vehicle mandates, and boosts oil and gas
Wait,
production.
electric vehicle mandates? Oh.
He's basically...
But that's
tax
still federal.
credit.
That's still federal though.
The
all
Tesla
electric.
tax
Biden
credit.
had
No,
pushed for a
that's-
full EV mandate by like 2045 or something.
That's not the tax credit. It's a mandate, meaning you have to be 80% EV by
By
certain
the-
dates,
Yeah.
right?
But that's still, the states can still do whatever they want.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I
But
think California has a mandate.
He's removing the federal.
This is only federal, by the way. He's not affecting any,
Yeah.
Yeah.
state stuff. 22, withdraws from Paris Climate Agreement. He talked about this at length, and I saw about this. So basically, he's like, look, so he said this as he was signing. He's like, oh, this is yes. And then he stops as he's signing it.
I saw this
He's
too.
talking, and he's like, look, we were paying $500 million. He said $500 million per year to the climate, whatever. No, sorry, this is for who? I'm confusing these. But he said
WHO.
the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
Right? He said, we're
And
paying
China was
$500 million.
giving
He
13.
said China was paying $39 million. He's like, there are 1.4 billion people. We're 350. He's like, God knows what the real numbers are with all the illegal immigrants. 325. We're 300. He's like on the fly, dude. It's so great. They're like, we're 325 million people. And then they said, then he said, WHO comes to me, he says, no, we really want you guys can also pay 39 million. He's like, it should be less because they're 1.4 billion for 39 million, but we're just going to pull out for now. We'll think about this later.
And you know what's funny? It's so off the cuff. It's so real. With Biden or Obama, everything felt so curated.
Robotic.
Now, Obama was beautiful about it. He would do it in such a great way. You would feel happy after listening
There's
to him say
theatrics
something.
to it.
Right? Like, he was a great politician.
He was a good orator.
As in, if you want to be a corrupt politician, be like Obama. He's like the role model in that sense, right? But Trump just does it so directly. He doesn't care what you think. He just says what's on his mind.
The Muslims loved Obama in this country. That's a man who killed the most Muslims during his reign,
Yeah.
right?
He was the most loved, apparently, U.S. president around the
Drone
world.
attacks were crazy.
He got the Nobel Peace Prize. It means it's crazy.
Of course, doesn't mean anything. Anyway, so withdrawals from Paris Climate Agreement. 23, opens Alaska's oil reserves. 24, halts offshore.
Drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said that, right? Drill, baby, drill. 24, halts offshore wind expansion. Pauses wind lease sales and permits for onshore and offshore projects. 25, establishes Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Aims to streamline.
Interesting about that.
Vivek is gone.
he already made it efficient by kicking out Vivek.
Oh, really?
No, he didn't
It's
get
sad
no.
because
That's wrong.
Vivek-
That's wrong. Vivek was not kicked out. Vivek
Left.
left because he said he's running for governor,
They want to make him a senator, I think, Ohio senator.
a governor or something.
But he left.
Which
He
is
left.
crazy. Which is bad. It's worse.
Yeah, wait. And on the subject of Vivek, I recently saw a video posted on X or somewhere about Vivek, like I don't know, maybe it was to APAC or someone, but he had some I'm not sure what timeline after October 7th, but he had very harsh words. He's like, Israel should wipe Palestine off the planet.
Oh yeah, I can completely imagine. He seemed like a
He
star.
said something like, if they want to impale them or something, I'm
Yeah,
happy with
yeah.
that.
He says basically what they should do is get all 20 Hamas leaders. He says if you see Ismail Haniyeh walk into Qatar, go and get him in Qatar. Basically, that's what he says. Whatever, stuff like that.
Basically-
and he said put the 20 heads of them on
stakes.
on pikes,
Yes,
on
that's
stakes,
what he said.
and plant them around the border in Rafah, so they know what's up.
I think Vivek, it's a sad case because actually Vivek in his earlier podcast, he would say Israel should defend itself. They have the capacity, they have the resources, they don't need our help. You're a sovereign nation, figure it out. That was his earlier thing.
That's true,
And
yeah.
I think he realized you don't get any political momentum unless you please the Israel lobby, and now he's doing it.
So
And
you saw
then
that-
he
you
became
saw
a
that
real
rhetoric
bootlegger.
full
They
sellout.
got Bajit.
Yeah,
Dude,
full
Fajit,
sellout.
Dude, man, but such harsh rhetoric. Like, and here's the thing.
Also-
as he was
Rhetoric
saying
gets
it,
so much hate for that.
and he was saying it with such fire when he was saying it, right? And I'm like, dude, there's no way he believes as strongly
He
about the
doesn't care,
situation.
yeah.
You can't. For a guy, this Indian dude,
Grew
some
up in
Silicon
Ohio,
Valley guy,
yeah.
right? There's no way he's this invested in that conflict for him to have such harsh rhetoric. Because I know Israelis who don't have such harsh
He's
rhetoric.
not a
right?
Christian, a
It's
Jew,
crazy.
or a Muslim. He has no tie to that land.
Yeah.
Why does he care?
He has no skin in the
Yes.
game. There's no way he's
And
not
also, he
fighting
does,
about it.
also,
Because he's a budget, he's a bootlegger.
Also, he doesn't understand something
Well,
really
okay.
core.
Sorry, really quick.
Is why he has support. People like Vivek for only one reason. He felt very real, like he had principles. And if they see that you don't have those, they're probably not going to vote for you anyway because you're brown.
No, but-
and now they're not
Hey,
going to vote for you
Biden,
for sure.
Define Baji.
One
Please.
thing, one thing.
Define Baji.
Isn't his entire background where he made all his money off of some scam, like some medical scam?
He basically, I think he bought companies that were failing on the biomedical space who I think ran out of funds to eventually get their drug to market. And once he bought them, I think he gave them more funds to get those drugs eventually to market. Now, there's a lot of conspiracy about they were failing drugs, they were bad drugs, so that's why they weren't making it to market. And then he eventually got them to market, blah, blah, blah. I don't know about the details, but he's a biomedical guy. Whatever.
I think
It's
Harvard
fine.
grad or something.
That seems kind of smart to me. I'm not sure about the drugs
a billionaire
at all. But as a
and-
businessman,
No, apparently there was something about some thing that he did.
Okay.
I've heard.
All right,
Yeah.
now we're down to social policies.
I believe that.
Delays TikTok ban. All right, he grants TikTok a 75-day reprieve with conditions. I wonder why. Because now all those young TikTokers would be like, "Woohoo, Trump, baby!"
And they're
Also,
all
apparently-
trading the Trump coin, right? He
Yeah.
launched a Trump meme coin. He's now a billionaire
Also, this is
overnight.
something really weird. Is
He was
that
already a
he
billionaire.
He was already a
basically Trump,
Well, way more for billionaire.
Yeah, yeah.
in
Deca
his
billionaire.
rhetoric before getting elected, was kind of light on Russia and really tough on China. Okay, and after getting elected, it's flipped. After getting elected, he's saying, I'm going to put sanctions on Russia, do all this stuff on Russia. And on China, he's like, I'm not going to put tariffs. He's like, I don't think we need that
Why
right
do you
now.
think that is?
I have no idea. That's what I'm saying. It's really odd. There seems to be a flip. He's letting TikTok go, even though he was the one who originally did the TikTok. Remember? That was
Yeah.
him. He was the one pushing for this
By the way,
back
this
when.
is a strong move against Zionism also because all the Zionists want TikTok banned.
Gone,
That's
yeah.
actually
They
the
don't control it.
underlying main reason why
Yeah.
TikTok was getting banned. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now all he's really done is he's delayed it for 75. That's still
Well,
huge.
to be more specific,
That's still
the
big.
reason why it was getting passed in Congress was because the Israel lobby liked the idea of banning TikTok. That
Exactly.
Was, yes.
But the fact it's getting delayed, even if it's a delay, it's still
But
significant.
I wonder
right?
if the play is, I'm not saying Trump's play, but I wonder the overall play is, if we want to keep TikTok, it has to be owned or supervised by an American entity.
Right.
Again,
But no, that's
most-
what happened. Isn't that what ByteDance? or
Yeah,
whatever
that's
did?
saying ByteDance or something. That has to be through ByteDance.
But
Essentially.
going back to the
It's a
Zionist
Singaporean,
thing,
right, I
this what these things show me, this TikTok delay and the ceasefire thing, the Trump and what, it goes to show that Trump is actually probably one of the only people in a strong political office who has the power to resist the Zionist lobby,
The strongest
which
political.
is the strongest lobby in the world.
which
Yeah.
is crazy.
He actually can say something and go against them,
And
and they can't do anything.
It's a really important point. People will often say, oh, Trump can't do anything, no one can do anything, the president's a puppet. Yes, the reason why the president is a puppet position is the same reason why the Queen of England is a puppet position. They legally, or King of England now, they legally have all the power. Legally, the president can do literally whatever he wants. It's because that's what the tradition has been, to let your advisors or whatever control things for you. But technically, if you have a king of England who wants to dissolve parliament and start a war, he could if he wanted to. And the same thing goes for a president.
Elon is actually calling for that. He's like, oh, all the grooming gangs, oh, the parliament's doing nothing. The king should dissolve parliament
He
and
can.
go after this.
Technically, he can if he wanted to. He has
Which
all the
he
power.
can.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting though? You know how when they're talking about Project 2025 or whatever it was, right? And in it,
Old news.
Old news.
Fake
but
news.
it was
by the
also-
way, they're
but a
following
lot
it.
of the
It's
things
being
that-
followed.
Exactly, it's being followed in this sense. The biggest thing that the kind of Democrats, you could say, the left was hating on in Project 2025 is they said he's going to end democracy as we know it. How? He's going to replace all officials top to bottom.
think he's fired
and
10,000
he's
or
already
something.
doing that.
Like
Meaning,
ridiculous,
as we
yeah.
speak, and it's been days, right? A couple days.
Thousands of
In
people.
days, all these federal prosecutors, anyone, all these people have held their positions for like 20 years and are normally protected. And there's laws and stuff that actually protect these people.
But they're
Meaning-
not elected. It's not like he's ending
Yeah, yeah,
democracy.
yeah.
They were not
But here's the
democratically
thing,
elected anyways.
He is putting in his people from the top to the bottom.
Sounds like an
Which-
Ottoman Khalifa.
Not only that, He is actually
which
he
is the
vi-
way it should be though.
He fired every single federal DEI program in the Army and everywhere else. Okay, he's basically said any DEI, any diversity, equity, inclusion program where you're trying to do some kind of any in the federal level, all are put on immediate paid leave and will be fired in the upcoming weeks.
People are sharing videos on Twitter of them like shredding DEI, like pride papers and stuff, shredding stuff in federal offices.
He is moving fast, and I would say this is good. One of my biggest problems, at least democracy in general, but especially the way it works in America, is it is extremely slow and inefficient. I don't have a problem with democracy in and of itself, but the way it's functioning in the Western world is super slow. By putting his people from the top to the bottom, you streamline what you want to get done. You have 4 freaking years in office. It's not like he has 20 years in office to slowly get something done like FDR did, 50 years ago, right? He has 4 years in office. This is his last term.
I'm kind of sad. I'm genuinely worried about the fact that he's only 4 years in office.
Hey, but you know what?
Because after he
Oh,
leaves,
really big news. I forgot the congressman's name. Jim something, I don't know, Republican. He has introduced a bill. He's already introduced a bill into Congress to amend the Constitution. I believe that the 14th, 15th, whatever the amendment is, to say third term should be allowed for president. It's already been introduced.
Dude, you know what?
It's not going to pass. 100% not going to pass.
I understand why there's this 2-term limit and whatnot, because they're saying you don't want anyone to become a dictator, and someone's in power too long, they become too powerful. I can understand that, right? But
by the way, let me clarify
4 years isn't long enough.
No,
we missed out on a lot of good presidents, right? They could have been there for much longer.
Obama.
People say like FDR was illegal.
Like Obama,
Obama
would have been here till today.
Clinton, by the way, was
Obama
unbeatable.
I'm glad that Obama left.
Obama had to leave. But by the way, important thing on this thing. A lot of people don't know this. The history of when that amendment came in to stop at the second term limit.
After FDR died his 4th term.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The reason, this is not the founding fathers. They had no such limit. The reason why this happened is because people like FDR, people like Teddy Roosevelt, all these people who had really strong popular support, they could override Congress. They were Trump-like figures who Trump decides the Republican Party. Any Republican who doesn't agree with him will lose his office next term, right? Which means he controls the party doesn't control him.
Yeah.
And the parties decided, after that guy decided to retire, because they couldn't do it while he was still in office, after he retired, I don't know if he lost the election or if he retired, after that, they said, we will not let this happen again. We will not let the president control
this was the sunnah. Okay,
too
this was the sunnah of George Washington. It wasn't a law.
Yeah.
George Washington was he did 2 terms, and then he stepped down, and then he made it a precedent. And so everyone did this until FDR, who had a 3rd full term, and midway through his 4th term, he died. Right?
Okay, is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what happened. And then Truman took.
Teddy Roosevelt also.
I think Truman took office, and he's the one who dropped the bomb. I think. Truman took.
I think you're right.
I think I'm right.
Or was Eisenhower?
Should have just kept Teddy Roosevelt.
Anyway, Truman. No, FDR is Franklin T. Roosevelt.
I wanted to go back to the executive orders for a second.
Yeah.
You read through a lot of them, and that's not even all of them.
There's still more.
Right?
There's still a couple more. We're almost done though. Yeah.
If you think about it, we mostly agreed with most of these executive orders, right?
Well, I was going to wait for you to finish
and a lot of these are Republican talking points, right? And if you think about it, if you look at the vast majority of Muslims...
Just speaking Islamically, there's no Islamic reason for you to be against any of these. Right? You can have any political affiliation.
Sure, no Islamic... But in general, though, I would say at least we kind of agree to a lot of these things, and Islamically there's no significant issues either.
So the Sharia compliant?
But vastly, Muslims align with the Democrats.
Relative.
Yeah.
The reason why Muslims align with the Democrats mostly was because what you said earlier. It's easy to vote for people who love you. Right?
Or you say they love you.
They say
they love you, right?
Like Bernie Sanders hugging hijabis on stage.
Exactly.
Seriously?
So that's why we voted for these people. But really what we need is we need more Muslims on the Republican side. The reason why we weren't with them very much is because they're very Islamophobic. But the reason why they're Islamophobic is because they don't know us. We need to interact with them. We need to interact with our neighbors.
Look at Trump.
Look at this VCS thing, right?
Speech, dude.
This whole VCS thing about getting the school expanded and stuff. They said, go talk to your neighbors. Why? Because your neighbors don't know you. They don't know your religion. They think you're completely foreign, right? Same thing with the Republicans. If you look at the Republican, kind of young Republican groups in our town, some of the people there are talking about straight Zionist crap, and they're all like Islamophobic because they don't have any interaction with Muslims.
The awareness is low.
It's super low.
It is hard to hate on Muslims when your neighbor's an awesome Muslim who brings you samosas every Ramadan, is loving you, invites you to their Eid
By the way,
parties.
this is one thing.
I'm saying.
side topic, the school thing that you were talking about, the school is now gonna do these events for the neighbors, which just makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. One step at a time. I do want to discuss this, but I'm going to finish this because some of the interesting points are coming up. Yeah. I know you already gave a summary, but here, because this is interesting. Okay. Sure. So delays TikTok ban. 27 flags at full staff for inauguration because I think they were half staff for the death of Nixon. Not Nixon. Carter.
Okay.
28 appoints officials, formally appoints cabinet, sub-cabinet leaders, all right, in a signing ceremony. 29 grants full pardons for all Jan 6 rioters, all 1,500 of them. Okay.
Unfortunately, Biden did not pardon Afia Siddiqui. There was a very strong campaign.
1 million.
Very strong
campaign to pardon Afia Siddiqui after 16 years something of being in jail.
No, he was busy pardoning himself and his family and Fauci and all these people preemptively.
But he actively denied it.
He
chose not to.
Yeah, because
on his last day,
I wouldn't trust him to do anything.
It came to his table,
dude. I
wouldn't trust him to do anything.
30.
Right?
All right, 30.
To rely on him makes no sense.
People wanted to vote for him.
You know, if the million people actually went to Trump, I have a better chance of Trump doing it.
And by the way, the push of that whole campaign was he's our only chance because Trump is this demon who would never sign.
Ridiculous.
No, that wasn't the thing. It's
that
because
was
every outgoing president does clemency, and that's why they appeal to him. They'll do
that
with Trump
too.
too.
They'll do this with Trump too. Okay, 30. Limits definitions of gender identity. Restricts federal gender identification policies to sex assigned at birth. Thank God.
He declared in his inauguration speech, from henceforth, in the United States of America, official policy is there's only 2 genders, male and female.
Yeah, on your passport before you could choose X, I believe. Now that's not an option anymore.
So then what will Trudeau write?
31. Ends federal... once Canada becomes the 51st state, right?
Interesting
After
thing on that.
Greenland, of course.
So not only that,
state.
apparently some European official, they said when they heard this, he offered Canada to be the 51st state. Canada obviously was like, what the hell, no. Europe says, you're more like us. A European official in the parliament says, we should propose for Canada to join the EU. They're more like us anyways.
Yeah.
They should join
That's
us.
true. They are more like them. Because they're parliamentary. They don't, yeah. The Western democracy is very good.
Opt-in colonialism, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I think...
Okay.
I personally think if you gave the Canadians a public vote to be part of America...
It would lose. It would lose.
I don't know because...
They're very proud.
I don't know. No, they can be proud. They can still be Canada.
Their economy is trash. They'd love to be part of the U.S.
I don't know, man.
State by state.
They would.
I don't think so, dude.
I can guarantee you it would be a close vote.
All I know is Linus would probably say no. That's all I know.
Because he's rich.
Yeah, because he's rich.
Actually, if you did it with state autonomy, say you can keep all your laws, whatever, you just get the benefit of our economy, they'd probably say yes.
Okay, 31. Ends federal DEI programs. Okay?
It's a state.
Ends federal DEI programs. 32. Makes merit the basis for federal hiring.
Let's go.
Thank God. Merit-based. Thank you.
It should also be for college admissions,
but this is federal. This is all federal, right?
By the way, important point on that real quick.
The federal
People keep saying that college admissions, legally, you cannot do race-based admissions. In California, that law was passed before the federal. Remember there was a federal law that was passed that said you can't do affirmative action? That law has been in California, I believe, since 2015. The schools have all figured out a way to go around it. In fact, one of the deans at a medical school I was applying to literally said, yeah, we're having some difficulties and we figured out how to change our curriculum process so we're achieving the same results just without filtering on that basis. So they're doing this, their results are the same. They want to get the minority certain percentages. They're just getting that by doing a little...
They're like, look. But we don't know your ethnicity, but Tyrone, you look like a good...
Hey, no. But I saw recently Amazon and these companies are getting rid of their quota systems. And people are like, yes, freaking finally, merit-based. This sounds good. I think some big companies are stopping this DI hiring. Anyway, foreign affairs and military. So 33 withdraws from WHO, the World Health Organization, criticized the organization for global health crises handling and alleged biases. 34 reinstates service members expelled over vaccine mandates. Good.
Oh,
wow. And I say this as a doctor. That's a good thing. I think vaccine mandates are a little... Symbolic actions. 35 renames Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America.
Let's go.
Hey, by the way, we looked at the
We
map.
looked this up. The Gulf of Mexico is predominantly bordered by America. It should be called the Gulf of America.
I was living next to it. I swam in it. It is definitely American.
It is a very brown water. I don't know if I would swim in it.
You swam in it. We took you into it.
I did. By the way, I lived in New Orleans.
We know the Gulf. But I think it's fine. Why not?
Yeah. Anyway.
Who cares?
36 restores the name of Mount McKinley Reverse Alaska's tallest peak's name from Denali to Mount McKinley.
Obama named it Mount Denali. I don't
No!
know.
But my truck's name is Denali.
Denali,
It's been
yeah.
named after that peak. You can't just rename it.
Yeah, well.
Now your truck's name is McKinley.
Way to
Makes
show
sense.
off. Look at this humble brag.
I
So
know.
know my truck's
Sounds
name.
way lamer that your truck's name is McKinley.
No, but that was their whole advertising. If you see the advertising, oh, we didn't just name this truck after anything. We named it after the tallest peak in America, the Denali.
Yep.
That was
Now it's Mount
McKinley.
McKinley. dude.
Was that all of them?
Yeah, that's,
Well,
I mean,
there's a
that's
couple-
everything first day. There's been more, but this is the
There's a
first
lot
day.
he's done today. And
He
there's a
did do
couple
anything
other
about
things.
H1B, by the way, which is interesting.
Right,
He did
well,
one on H1B? But what?
No, he didn't.
Oh, he didn't. Okay.
The big one really interesting thing is apparently Trump. This happened today, this early
Elon
morning.
was for it.
He had a 45-minute phone call with the Prime Minister of Denmark. Okay,
Hilarious.
And, yeah,
Hilarious.
he had a Prime Minister
Yeah.
phone call, and all the people who observed this call say it was really fiery. Apparently, they were yelling at each other. Okay. And then after that call ended, they say Denmark was in chaos.
Are you serious?
People are freaking out because it turns out Trump was like, I want Denmark and I want Denmark now. I
No,
want
Greenland,
and I
Greenland.
want Greenland now. And basically, if you don't do this, we will put economic sanctions on you. We'll do this on you. We'll do all that on you. We'll put all this stuff
stop.
on you.
Okay.
And anyway,
He is pushed
Just,
for Greenland.
I'm completely off
hard.
this. What does Denmark have to do with Greenland?
so basically, the quick
that's what I
history
want.
is that people have colonies. Denmark had a colony in Greenland, and so Greenland, which is majority Inuit or whatever, is a part of the crown territory of Denmark, which is technically a kingdom of Denmark. So it's a crown
It's
colony.
on their flag, by the way.
is.
It's
Yeah.
on their
Well,
flag.
they recently changed it, by the way. This happened
To make
last
it more
year.
prominent.
They changed it. They made the Greenland part of their Denmark flag bigger. It's not even the flag. It's the royal.
But Greenland is its own country.
No, Greenland is a colony. The same way we own like Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico,
It's
okay.
like that.
We still have a U.S. base on there, which accounts for a good chunk of the population of Greenland, anyways. by the way.
Book, whatever, I don't know what it is. But yeah.
The US already has
they
a base
do.
there.
And basically, apparently it turns out that the Greenland people themselves love the attention they're getting because they've wanted independence from Denmark for quite a while. And they think they can get something out of this. And I think it's very simple. I think it's like 40,000 people living on the island. Trump could get each of them like $1 million, $2 million and say every Greenland citizen would get $2 million, become their own state. They would agree tomorrow on a referendum. He knows he got this referendum. He seems to get there. And apparently Denmark,
Personally, I hope this happens. I would love to visit Greenland.
I mean, we
As a
could
state.
visit regardless.
I know.
Actually,
as a state.
if you're going to visit Iceland, it's way better to visit.
It was kind of funny
Sure.
though. I saw this video of Donald Trump Jr., Charlie
Visiting,
Kirk,
yes.
and they're all visiting the Greenland.
And they're wearing
look,
MAGA.
Look at how nice it looks. They're like, it just make me think of like
You know, I just
colonial
find it- I
settlers.
just find it
when
so
colonial
hilarious.
settlers first time exploring a land. They're feeling like, oh, we can.
I find this funny,
kinda funny.
but like, I'm all in it for just the uniqueness of it. If America actually acquires Greenland and makes it a state,
Dude.
I would say
you know,
from
Puerto
a,
Rico will be like, what the?
Trump will be remembered forever for expanding
Yes.
U.S. territory. When was the
Insane.
last time U.S. territory was expanded?
Hawaii.
When they
Well,
purchased
but
Guam.
legally-
Dude,
a state, a new
imagine
state was Hawaii.
Threatening tariffs to a NATO ally. Being, we're going to tariff you. Give us Greenland.
yeah, a NATO ally. And by the way, here's what's scary.
It sounds like a Louisiana Purchase and all these kind of things. Basically, you buy it after strong arming.
No. So apparently now the foreign minister talked to our foreign minister, the Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, and they basically said, okay, cool. We're gonna have negotiations. Can we just give us some time, please?
Negotiations for Greenland.
Okay, yes. So now negotiations.
so
This is insane. Negotiations are officially opening between
That is
Denmark and
insane.
America for
I
Greenland.
wonder if Canada.
If
I
he
wonder
gets-
if
if he
Canada is
gets-
looking at this as with envy. Like, we were
They have
first
so
picked.
much.
Dude,
Anyways.
if he gets Greenland, he'll be like, then why can't I have Canada?
Dude, that would be just so OP.
by the way-
Man, do you guys know how strategically important Greenland is? As the northern polar caps are melting, we have this whole new sea that's opening, new sea routes that are opening and everything, and it's just becoming more important. And there's lots of oil there potentially. Greenland
potentially
itself,
oil there.
as the ice will melt.
It also
bunch of cool
controls
places
the
there.
Arctic passageway. So the Arctic is melting, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of passages have already opened.
The Arctic Ocean is
It's a
getting
it's actually an ocean
It's
now.
heating up.
Before it was a frozen thing, right? So now it's opening up, and this is a very important passageway, basically, for ships and oil and all sorts of stuff is happening there. It's strategically very important. At the same time, is it right for a country to just take other people's land?
No, they're
No.
asking the people.
But
Hey,
they're gonna hold
we're
a
going through
referendum.
proper channels.
Yes,
Where
negotiations.
no one's asking the indigenous people, but we're talking to other people who colonized it, whether we can have it
Let me just
instead.
say, look, think about this right now. This is like, it's very civilized if you think about what's happening. Imagine they go do this to some Muslim country. that leader of that country would have been a complete idiot who would have probably argued with the president of the United States, completely refused to galvanize his people, gone and done some kind of war which he would utterly fail at. Just think about this. Compare the response of the people in Panama and people of Greenland.
Oh, he's taking
Denmark's-
Panama too.
Yeah, he's saying Panama. Panama president, we will never let this happen. Who cares what we have to say? No one cares. And no one cares about Denmark either. But Denmark...
The thing is, the U.S. has so much leverage.
Yes.
That Trump knows this and he's using it. He's using it on Israel
On
as
Mexico,
well.
on everyone.
He's using it on Mexico. He's using it with Denmark. Well, look, think about what Denmark exports to the U.S.
Dude,
Do you
imagine
know what
China,
it is?
by the way.
It's
Imagine
probably
if China
cattle
said
or
this,
something.
or if Russia just said this, or India
I think
said this.
that's
Imagine
what
India's like, we would like to take Panama. Freaking.
Yeah, because you couldn't. But this is America. They are the maritime
Wait, so
dominant
what's-
nation.
They're the largest consumer market in the world.
Besides Greenland, they want Panama as well.
He wants Panama. And
Canada.
Panama first.
He wants
Panama first,
Canada's
Greenland?
third. Panama was first on the list.
Yeah, Panama,
was
Greenland.
the one with military. He said he could do it because there's no NATO treaty with Panama, I believe.
Is this part of the 2050 thing?
No.
Project 2025 was basically just very quickly own the government top to bottom. So there's no bureaucracy getting in your way.
Kick out all the illegal immigrants and allow the states to have a lot of power. And he's doing all three.
Good.
The three goals.
He's doing them. He's not following it to a dot. He's like, it has nothing to do with me. But basically, he learned from his first presidency. He's like, if I want to get anything done, I got to get all my barriers out of the way. Let's remove all the hurdles, all the obstacles. And then I will reign free.
Also, Trump has realized do not trust your advisors. So a famous example is James Bolton, I think his name is. I don't know if
Yeah, he mentioned him
James
by
Bolton.
name, yeah.
He was a guy who literally advised Trump on Iran policy and a couple other critical policies saying, do this and this will happen. And the guy was a complete idiot who Vivek had a recent
On the
debate
Joe
with
Rogan
too.
podcast, he mentioned.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Joe Rogan podcast, he basically said, I had some bad people around me.
Yeah.
And he said there's people I won't name, they want to be part of my cabinet. They're really well off people. I think he was talking about Mark Cuban. That's what I felt. But he basically is like, I don't want these people because these people just suck.
Actually, James Bolton, he said in a recent tweet, he's canceled security. John Bolton. He canceled security detail for him and said basically he's made so much money through all of his stuff.
He said this for two people.
And Fauci as well.
It's a Fauci. So people are like, Dr. Fauci was recently revoked his protection, right? And he's like, look, this happens all the time. People are given military protection when they work for the government after some period of time. That is removed. I removed it on these people. And very frankly, these are very rich people. They made a lot of money. They can afford their own security detail. I know some great groups. They can call me. I'll give them advice. I'll connect them
I know
with
some
people.
good security people.
Security clearance also. Security
Yeah,
clearance.
of course.
as
You
well.
lose that immediately
Yeah.
as soon as you start working for the government. But
By the way, John Bolton's example, though, of a guy who basically Trump realized, he sat there, fed me all this bullshit about what is good and what is wrong, and he realized I can't trust him. And I think Trump, hopefully, will not make the same mistake.
I by the way, I'm looking at who he's picked as his cabinet, and I'm like, these are all people. You think he's going to trust freaking Marco Rubio?
I don't.
But Pete Hegseth got confirmed as defense secretary. He's like
He's a-
end of times Christian Zionist.
Sure.
kind of
But I'm
thing.
saying he put these people there. I think whatever. Maybe he made some people happy. A lot of money was exchanged. Maybe he's making
some of them he
making his lobbyists happy.
What's that
But
girl's
now he can. Dude, these are just he can do what the frick he wants.
Yeah.
He's in now.
He's in now.
He's in.
I think he had to do this to
he
make
made
his
certain
donors
people
happy.
Oh, you and Marco Rubio here. Oh, you like this guy here. You want the evangelists there, the Zionists there. Done. And now leave me the hell alone. I'm gonna do what I like.
You know what?
Hopefully,
I'm optimistic.
I'm optimistic.
I am
I'm optimistic.
genuinely excited and optimistic for the next 4 years.
The last 3 days are apparently the CEO of Bank of America was saying this at Davos, like the World Economic Forum right now. They were doing an interview. He's like, you have been probably the most busy president, right? The most busy president of any president in your first 3 days. Like, I don't think anyone's done this much.
Absolutely.
Nobody's done this.
I think, look, the first 4 years, Trump was learning to be president. He knows what's up now.
Yeah.
And unlike other people, he's not just coasting it to make money. He wants to actually... Trump is a guy who actually wants to do things.
He has nothing to lose now.
Actually, I would say this time too. By the way, an argument could have been made last time. He's like, "What do I have to gain from this? I'm already a billionaire." Look, if people didn't know Trump, everyone knew Trump when he was president. It was impossible not to. He was all over the media of every country, not just ours, right? The fame has been achieved. He's not going to get any more famous in these next 4 years. Let's be honest. How can you possibly get more known than Trump? It's
Greenland.
impossible, I think. Okay, but yeah, by taking over Greenland. Now,
In the
even
history
Inuits
books.
will know who I
He's
am.
like, I'm on the news. I want to be in the history books. now."
I want my posters in igloos. Look,
will
I'm
be.
not saying that, but no. But besides the point is like now, I can't literally see any. He's even older in age. He seems to be a bit more mellow than he was last time, right?
Ever since the
I'm saying-
shooting, also.
Ever since what?
The assassination.
Sure, 100%. That look, near-death experiences change people, right? I am very optimistic. I don't see any ulterior motives here, from him personally at least. So I'm hoping he makes good moral decisions outside of all these insane money influences around him.
I really think his whole statement, his idea that this is a golden age for America is actually accurate. And you know what makes me most excited about this is the recent news about him making Stargate or something, which is basically like $500 billion worth of investment, which is coming from SoftBank and others, but he's pooling $500 billion worth of investment into AI.
To what? Oh,
Into AI.
I thought you said to me battle cruisers. I don't know.
Not
Battle
Battlecruiser.
Cruiser.
That's
Sorry.
old. That's old school. Yeah, I don't mind call it Stargate or something, but AI, dude.
That's what I thought,
The
Starcraft.
biggest technological revolution since the Industrial Revolution.
Wait,
this.
okay, before you
So
jump
it's
into
coming
that,
simultaneous to all of this that's happening.
We might have to discuss this later because
Later.
we're well over an hour.
Yeah.
No, but we're having this economic boom. $500 billion going in this from the government.
Then now
That's
we're 36
on
minutes.
top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and one
I
other
think it's
thing,
gonna be-
one other last
okay,
thing
go
is
ahead,
that
go
he
ahead.
actually did so one other like recent thing that's happened is the first foreign leader who's had a phone call with apparently, I don't know the whole Greenland thing, maybe he was the first, who knows. But apparently it's MBS of Saudi. MBS of Saudi also had a 45-minute call.
Very fascinating call, apparently.
Yes,
I read about
apparently
this.
he had a call with him for 45 minutes and it made Trump really happy. He tweeted right after that MBS is a great guy. And what MBS told him is, I'm going to invest $600 billion in the American economy. And I went, whatever. Trump didn't mention what he wanted, but he's promised this. And Trump was like, cool, let's round it up to $1 trillion. And MBS was like, we can do this. Point is, they had some 45-minute call in which MBS really sucked up to Trump, made him
Not
love
just
him.
this. Look, was it? He said, "I'm going to invest $600 billion," and then Trump goes around and says, "No, it's going to be $1 trillion because you've been killing the world." He says, "You know why the war in Ukraine is still happening in Russia? Is because you've jacked up oil prices so high.
Yeah.
That's why that war is still happening. So it's your fault. And in fact, you know what? You're going to invest $1 trillion in America." And he's like, "Yes, sir."
The same thing happened with Masayoshi Son of SoftBank in this whole $500 billion thing. He was like, "Oh, I'm going to invest $10 billion in America in AI." Trump says, "Why don't you do 50? 50? Okay, I will do 100 billion." Literally, literally. He just said, "Why don't you just invest more? No, you can do more. You can do more."
And you know
Art
what's
of the
crazy?
Deal, baby. The best book
Yes.
after the Bible. Don't you know
And
that?
by the way, what's crazy is that Trump literally says, I think Trump said somewhere else, he's like, the previous president, they're just stooges. They don't even care to ask. They care so little for the country, they won't even care to make such a request. And he says about the plane, apparently the presidential plane that made by Boeing, whatever, the Air Force One or whatever it is, he's like, they don't even ask them, oh, reduce the price. He's like, they call me out, I call them like, hey, reduce the price by half. And they're like, oh, Mr. President, cost. He's like, I don't care. Reduce it by half. And he's like, they cut it by 70. They cut it by a quarter.
Iran
And he's
did
like, it was that simple. He's like, one call and I saved America millions of dollars. And he's like, anyone could have done it. They just never cared to try.
Look,
You know?
I'll end with this because it's random. I just saw this a clip this morning. Apparently, he landed in California and LA. So
7 hours ago.
Governor Gavin Newsom, Governor Gavin Newsom was there waiting for him. So Air Force One was right there. The door was open. The stairs were set up, and he was just waiting outside for 10 minutes. And people are like, "Power move." Trump just making Gavin Newsom, and he's literally just standing there, adjusting his.
He's shaking his
just
shoulders.
waiting.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know,
Anyways, he's just waiting. 10 minutes. Trump makes him wait.
That's great.
And then he finally walks down the steps. I'm like, dude,
I
what a power move.
100% he
On
was
purpose.
like, I'm gonna wait.
100% on purpose.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's a good thing.
Jazakumullah khair, everyone, for watching. This is our probably longest podcast yet. I do try to aim for between an hour and a half tops. This is about an hour, 40 minutes. But Jazakallah khair for watching. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. If this one gets more views than the last one, then inshallah we'll go over all the comments and whatnot again. But assalamu alaikum from all of us, and we'll see you next week inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.